What's good YouTube, it's Adam from I'm Music Mobile. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're gonna go ahead and break down the remake to Drake's What Did I Miss? So the tempo for this one is 125 beats per minute for beat 1, and for the beat switch up it's 127 beats per minute, and the track is produced by a stack of producers: London CYR, Lil Angel, DJ Lewis, Takey, OZ, FNZ, Elyas, GYZ, and Patron. We're going to break down the track section by section, so let's get straight to it. Go ahead and break that down instrument by instrument. So you'll notice I have a couple or several brass instruments here. I layered them all together to try and get the same tone and texture as the original track. I try my best with Logic stock plugins. The original track is a little bit brighter, so just keep that in mind. So for the French horns, or for the first pattern of the French horns or the brass section, we get this. So that's going to be the same pattern for the melody portion of the brass instruments. So for that sound, we're using Logic's French horns found under orchestral brass French horns. And then layered with that, we get this. It's more of like a synthetic brass sound. For that sound, we are using Logic's Alchemy, the prophetic brass preset on the Decay Performance. Layered with that, we have this sound. This is more of like an analog synth brass sound. And for that, we are using Logic's Alchemy, the brassy pad swell preset on the rich brass performance. And then layered with that, we get something that's really quiet in the background, this super saw. And for that sound, once again, we're using Logic's Alchemy. The preset is Super Saw Inferno on the huge performance. And then last but not least, to round up that brass section melody, is this right here, the trumpets. So for that trumpet sound, we are using another stock Logic sound found under Legacy, Logic, Orchestral, Brass, and Trumpet Section Staccato. And all that together sounds like this. Like I mentioned earlier, I doubt the producers use that many stacks for the orchestral sounds. They probably just use one or two. But to get the sort of similar texture and tone to the original one, I had to go ahead and stack that here in Logic. And then we get some of the low brass instruments, sort of the bass stuff, plus some of pads. So let's start off with this brass bass here. Sort of this menacing tone that is building up the track. Like the whole track has this storyline. It's a really nice storyline when you listen to it as far as the arrangement goes. So for that brass sound, we are using Logic's Alchemy, the brassy jazz ensemble on the rich performance. Layered with that, we have a trumpet playing at a low note. Just hitting that note of D. That sound is found under Legacy, Logic, Orchestral, Brass, and Trumpet Section Legato. And together it sounds like this. So layered together gives you that nice menacing vibe that you need. And then we get into some of our pads. So we get this. For that sound, we are using Logic's Alchemy, the vintage saw pad on the lead 3 performance, with slight detuning using Logic's tape delay over here to give it more of like a detune type of sound. Kind of gives you like that whiny texture. And then we got like this atmosphere in there, just for some texture. For that texture, we are using a soundscape in Logic's Alchemy, called Abandoned Space Station, using the Lost in the Dark performance. And then last but not least, we get this lead synth happening in the background. Kind of pokes through the mix a little bit. Same pattern as the other pads and atmosphere. For that sound, we are using Logic's Alchemy, and the preset is called Harpsichord Synth. And you can see the performance is shared between the synth harpsichord and the buzzy performance. And then all together, it sounds like this. And then of course, the drums. So the drums do repeat itself for the entire beat one, similar pattern. So let's go ahead and break it down stack or track by track. So first up, we get the kick. All right, then we get this first snare sound. Then we get a hi-hat. Just a two-step pattern. Then we get this snare clap, which is the main clap or snare, whatever you want to call it, happening on the threes. Then we get a secondary snare here. And then we get like a little hi-hat phrase. And then a secondary hi-hat phrase. And then we get a third hi-hat phrase happening at the end of the pattern. And then of course, the 808. So all together. All right, so this is section B, sort of the main part of the track, the big section. So breaking down, we're getting most of the same instruments here. We'll just start off with some of the new stuff here. So we start off with like a new menacing brass sound that's really big for this section. For that sound, I'm using Logic's Alchemy, the colossal brass preset on the aggressive performance. Layered with that, we have this. So we got ourselves some strings, and for that sound, we are using Logic's preset found under Legacy Jam Pack Symphony Orchestra Strings Orchestral String Ensemble. So the two of that together sounds like this. Really gives that hugeness for this section. And then we get the same brass instruments, just playing a different pattern. So this is the pattern right here. So these three instruments over here is actually new instruments, all playing the same pattern. So for this first one here, we have Legacy Jam Pack Symphony Orchestra Extra Brass Ensemble Legato. And then we have the same instrument except in staccato form. So this one right over here. And then we have the trumpet section here. All playing the same pattern. And then we get sort of a B-1 section that happens right before section C. So it's the same instruments, everything's the same, just the pattern's a little different. This is for the melody. And this is for the low notes. Just playing that G. And like I mentioned, the drums are the same pattern, it just loops over and over. So let's go back a little bit and play from section B into section C here. All right, let's start off with the brass section. So once again, all the same instruments here. This is what it sounds like. I'll just add them one by one, except it has a new pattern. And then we have that lead sound that is sitting on top of everything. For that sound, I am using a preset in Logic's Alchemy. The preset is called, it's found under the pad section called Alone on the dark performance. Just a little VQ for tone shaping, and together that sounds like this. And then the drums. All right, so this is section D. We'll start off at the top with this low menacing note here. Kind of building you up again. So we're using that analog synthy brass sound, and this is the pattern. And then of course that ghostly, the pattern switches up a little bit. Then we go back into section A. Then we go back in section B. And then we go into the beat switch up. All right, let's go ahead and break down the beat switch up. First things first, the tempo does switch up to 127 beats per minute. We'll start off with the drums. It's an easy thing here. We got the kick. We get the hi-hat, a two-step pattern. And we get a snare. And then we get a couple of background instruments. So we get this pad sound. Here's the pattern. For that sound, we're using Logic's Alchemy, the alpha pad preset on the filtered performance. Layered with that, we get sort of like a synthy keys type of sound. Playing the same pattern. For that sound, we are using Logic's Alchemy. You can find the preset, it's called Servo Assisted, under the muted performance. And together it gives you that nice lush sound. Kind of misses each other if you don't have it together. And then for our top lead line, we get this organ sound. For that sound, we're using Logic's Alchemy, the 60s vintage organ on the rotator performance, and together it sounds like this. The drums. And then we get to the vocal chop. Now for this one, I didn't actually chop the original sample that was used. I'll show you that sample in a moment. But I couldn't quite figure out exactly how the producers used that sample. So if you let me know, let me know down below. So I just took a vocal chop from the actual song and looped it. Now it's not the same thing that loops over and over like we have in this arrangement. It does switch up in the original track, but we get like this chopped and screwed type of vocal, plus a vocal that many people thought was The Weeknd, but it's not. The background singer voice that everyone thought was The Weeknd is by an artist called Evîn Kücükali, and this was the original sample that they posted online.
Try to be there when no one is. Your love is mine. Your love.
So if I skip to the end, this is what the part of the sample was used.
Your touch is my water. I float right into you. I float right into us. Your touch is my water.
So apparently that was the sample that was used in the track, but I couldn't quite figure out how that sample was manipulated. Of course, it was sped up, and it sounds like the format was shifted to give you that sort of R&B vocal Weeknd type of sound. All right, so that's the edited vocal, and then from the original vocal, sounds like this.
Your touch is my water. I float right into you. I float right into us. Your touch is my water.
So that's the original vocal sample. I just want to point that out. I'm not sure where the chopped and screwed vocal sample came from, but when I have more time, I'm actually going to go ahead and break that down because it's a really interesting use of that sample. But that is pretty much it for the entire track. Let's go ahead and take a listen to how everything sounds together. That right there is Drake's What Did I Miss remade in Logic Pro. For Logic Pro users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you, place it as a downloadable link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm going to go ahead and export all the MIDI stems, audio stems, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below the like button as well. If you do have any questions on this or just want to chat or have any suggestions for future videos, let's go chat down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Later. Peace.